So I think it has been evolving with the Gen AI, and I think that data has become even more important because with Gen AI, you need to have a trusted data, right? You can't have an AI with trust. You can't trust AI without a trusted data. And we're beginning to see organization moving beyond just experimental, in terms of research on Gen AI to operationalizing it, right? And we're seeing banks especially, who are looking at using Gen AI to tackle three main key drivers, right? Anything to do with revenue, anything to do with cost and risk, right? Traditionally, we're seeing banks more focused on productivity, but now we're also seeing banks using Gen AI for customer-facing applications. There are a couple of things, right? As I mentioned, you need to have trusted data to have trusted AI. So a lot of problem that banks have, even today, is on data quality, right? Handling data, especially banks where, they have been around for a long time, they have a legacy, right? Some banks have 30, 40, even hundreds of applications, and the silos still continues to evolve. And getting the data into a common platform with a unified governance, security, and the user experience is really important for our customers. So we're also seeing that's a major gap that customers are looking at to fix before they can build Gen AI that they can deploy operationally. I personally believe the full value is all about driving business outcome. So as I mentioned, right, just on a high level, if we were to classify, there are three main drivers, as I mentioned, right, which is revenue, cost, and risk. I think that in order to drive full value, there are a couple of things. One, you're going to make sure that the data is available and make it accessible so that you can democratize the data to users who require that. And secondly, once you have built that platform, you need to be able to make sure that you have a vision in terms of what drivers empowers or power the AI, right? Especially the use cases. And a lot of times customers say that it's not a technology driven, right? It's more business driven. So I think it's important to make sure that we understand what are the business drivers that an organization need to have so that you can drive business outcome and map the AI or Gen AI strategy to the business outcome. As I mentioned, right, again, back to the core trusted AI, right? Banks are trying to make sure that they are able to trust the data so that they can empower AI. And a lot to do with governance, a lot to do with AI ethics, right? A lot to do with to make sure that those fundamentals are in place so that they can actually provide all the use cases in Gen AI to drive the business outcome that I mentioned about. Totally. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? When Gen AI first started, a lot of use cases were done using to improve productivity, right? So you've seen some use cases from some of our customers like OCBC. We use Gen AI for code automation, code generation, right? So that saved about 20% of their productivity in developers trying to build applications. We're also seeing them deploying into call centers where they use Gen AI to transcribe the speech into text, right? And load it back into the CRM system, right? And beyond just productivity, as I mentioned, we are seeing organizations trying to use it for risk. I'll give you another use case. The use case of source of wealth assistance, right? Basically, it is for the relationship managers, right? So you look at this is a private banking. Relationship managers typically take a long time to onboard high net worth individuals, right? They need to understand their taxes, their income, right? Their property. So on average, about 40, 50 type of documents, the relationship managers need to collect and to summarize and to write a report on the source of wealth report, right? And typically it takes about 10 days on average, right? And with the source of wealth assistant, basically it's an agentic AI application that allows these relationship managers to collect data, pass it on to the agent where they can summarize it and do due diligence on understanding the legitimacy of the wealth of the individual and the transactions, right? So you help them to mitigate risk as well, and thereby improving customer experience because relationship managers then is able to spend more time engaging with customers than to spend 10 days writing reports.